What do you call an undercover tarantula? A spider.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Alright, y'all, we are 1 week out from Spider-Man No Way Home, probably the most anticipated movie since Avengers Endgame. I'm pumped. I got my tickets. In fact, I got 2 sets of tickets.
He got two! He got two! Get the mailman! Michael, get him!
And I could not be more excited to see this movie. In today's video, what I want to do is preview this movie. I want to talk about what I want, what I'm worried about, and ultimately my predictions. If at any point throughout this video you are entertained, let me know, leave me a like, that subscribe button is free, and go ahead, let me know in the comment section. In the comments, tell me what you are either looking forward to the most in this movie or what you want the most in Spider-Man No Way Home. Anyways, here's my preview. So things I want in this movie, the number one thing I want more than anything is I want a cameo from Matt Murdock. Yes, that's the thing that I want more than anything else in this movie.
We understand you're in some trouble. We may be able to help.
How long have you been practicing law?
What time is it?
It's 12:22 a.m.
About 7 hours.
I'm a huge fan of the Daredevil Netflix series. If you haven't seen Daredevil on Netflix, stop watching this video right now and start watching Daredevil. Show is awesome. The writing is amazing. That hallway fight scene is so cool. And I'm not really anticipating seeing Daredevil in costume fighting crime in this movie. However, a cameo from Matt Murdock would absolutely be awesome. I'd love to see him as Peter's lawyer at the beginning of the movie. Some kind of scene where he comes in and tells Peter Parker to stop talking, says, "I'm Matt Murdock, I'm your attorney," something like that. That would be so cool, just a little cameo. And with all the rumors going around that Kingpin might be in Hawkeye, if Kingpin can be in the MCU, why not Matt Murdock? So number one thing I want more than anything, Matt Murdock cameo. Second thing I want is probably the thing that everybody wants from this movie, is I want to see the old Spider-Man in this movie, but I want to see them with their original scores / soundtrack. I want to see Tobey with the original Spider-Man song from his movies. I want to see Andrew Garfield Spider-Man with the songs from The Amazing Spider-Man. I want to see authentic versions of these characters in this movie. Now, I'm not really going to get into leaks or anything like that in this video. It's all just going to be speculation, and I'm just going off of what we actually know, what's officially been confirmed in this movie. We know that all the old villains are going to be in it, like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro. So I'm assuming that Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield are going to be in this movie. That really wouldn't be a surprise, but I really want to see them with their original soundtracks. Like I said, when Tobey comes on the screen, I want to hear that original Spider-Man theme. Same thing for Andrew Garfield. And I really want authentic versions of these characters. I want to feel like they are the actual versions from those old movies in this. I don't want to see the MCU version of Tobey. I don't want to see the MCU version of Andrew Garfield. I want to see the authentic versions of these characters. And I've got a take so hot that I need to wear oven mitts for it. Side note, aren't these oven mitts cool with the little peppers on it? Honestly, I think that moment where Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up in this movie, if they do, I think that it's going to be the most impactful and special MCU moment of all time. Eclipsing the On Your Left scene, eclipsing when Kat picked up Mjolnir. It's gonna be tough, but I think it actually might be even cooler than the On Your Left scene. I know that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm super excited for it. It's gonna be a huge moment. 3 generations of Spider-Man fans all getting to see their characters on the big screen at once. It's gonna be super awesome. All right, third thing I wanna see in this movie, this is a little bit of a downer. Peter Parker needs consequences, okay? The last 2 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, Homecoming, No Way Home, or is the last one Far From Home? I can't remember. These home titles are way too confusing. Anyways, the last 2 Spider-Man movies, all these things are happening because of Tom Holland's actions, because of his stupidity. And when I was talking about this with somebody the other day, what I was really worried about is that the plot of this movie is going to be Peter Parker is an idiot and he has to clean up his own mess. And it looks like for the 3rd time in a row, that's exactly what we're getting. I kind of don't like that aspect of Tom Holland's character. So I feel like he needs to have consequences a little bit. He clearly doesn't learn his lesson, and I think that him having consequences will make for a better movie. I don't know if it's going to be a character dying. I don't know if it's going to be a character being transported to another universe or some long-lasting effect of what happens, but Peter Parker needs serious consequences. He can't have everything that he wants. Something's got to happen for him to learn his lesson, grow up, mature a little bit. That's the third thing I want from this movie. Fourth thing I want is I want a more serious tone as opposed to a funny, jokey tone. A lot of MCU movies, especially these Spider-Man movies, they have serious moments, they have some impactful scenes, but it's a lot of funny haha jokes, things like that. And I know that that's really entertaining and that can make for a good movie. But because this is the culmination of this entire Spider-Man trilogy, because there's so many important cameos, important storylines being settled, I really want to see a more serious movie as opposed to a funny one. Yes, there can be jokes. Yes, there can be humor. We already know that there is going to be based on what we've seen in the trailers, but I really want to see a serious, grounded, well-written story as opposed to 2.5 hours of jokes and CGI action scenes. And last, but certainly not least, there is one line that I want to hear in this movie more than anything I want, and that, of course, is the most iconic line in Spider-Man history, and of course, that is...
Pizza time.
Yeah, you thought I was going to say with great power comes with great responsibility. If they throw that line in there, I think that would be pretty cool for Tobey's Spider-Man to say that to Tom Holland or something like that. I think that will be cool. It's not necessary, but I think it is something that will be really cool to hear in this movie. So I guess if I was going to describe the fifth thing that I want is I want to see a lot of really cool callbacks to these old movies. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of lines showing back up in this movie that were in the old ones. I think that would be really cool. Not that I need 2.5 hours of fan service and Easter eggs, but some would be really cool. Fifth thing I want, some really cool callbacks to the old movies. All right, now on to the things that I am worried about in this movie. I don't think it's going to be a perfect movie. It's really hard to live up to hype and expectations and things like that. So there are some things I'm concerned about. My number one worry with this movie is that it's not going to live up to the hype. We've been waiting for this movie for what seems like a million years, okay? We just got a trailer recently. We haven't learned a lot about it until recently, and the expectations are sky high for this movie, as evidenced by the fact that as soon as tickets went on sale, every single website in the entire world crashed. Expectations are sky high, and I'm a little worried that it's not gonna live up to the hype, because honestly, I feel like it's impossible for it to do so. Not everybody's gonna get everything that they want, and I am a little worried that the expectations that everybody has placed upon this movie aren't going to be met. I still think it's going to be an amazing movie, but I am worried it's not going to live up to the hype. I wouldn't be surprised if I leave the theater thinking, oh, I wish they would have done this. I wish they would have done this. I mean, even Avengers Endgame was an awesome movie, but I don't think that it necessarily lived up to the hype that we put on it. I mean, at the end of the day, I still think Infinity War was a better movie, and it's really hard to live up to those sky-high expectations, so that's my number one worry. I think it's not going to live up to the hype. My second worry with this movie is that they're going to try to do too much in too little time. I'm thinking specifically about Spider-Man 3 when we had 17 villains and like 2 hours to tell the story. It was fitting in too much too soon. I know I'm being a little hyperbolic with those numbers, but you get what I'm saying. I think with movies that we've seen that are really good, one of the big things we notice is that there's a lot of time to tell the story. Time for the plot, time for these characters, their backstories, their motivations, and just time for the movie overall to breathe. But when you have 5 villains and potentially 3, maybe more versions of Spider-Man coming into this movie, on top of all of the side characters that are going to get their own payoffs, I think that's a lot to fit in, even in a 2.5 hour runtime. I hope they can make it work. I trust Feige and everyone at Marvel, but there is a lot to cover in just one movie. So that's my second concern, is that they're going to try to do too much too soon. Third thing I'm worried about is they're going to do too much modifying of old characters. What I mean by that is that they're going to take Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's version, and make them MCU versions of themselves. I was saying that a little bit earlier in my video. I absolutely do not want to see that. I want to see authentic Tobey. I want to see authentic Andrew and those versions of those characters. I don't want to see what they would have looked like in the MCU. I want to see those actual versions of themselves, and I think that's okay to do. I don't know the legalities of all this, but if Sony owns all these characters, why can't they pull in a little bit of old footage from those movies, or maybe some deleted scenes? Why can't they pull in some of those old lines? Why can't they let them be those versions of themselves? And I am a little worried that because this is an MCU movie, that they're gonna do too much modifying of these old characters and try to make it fit that tone. With a movie like this, you don't have to. Those movies are all awesome, with the exception of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. that movie was trash. And I think that they can do fine with just using those authentic versions of those characters. So that's the next thing that I'm worried about, is that they're going to modify those old characters and make them something that they're not. All right, the next thing I'm worried about with this movie is the tone. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I talked about it earlier. It's okay for us to be sad. It's okay for us to be heartbroken. And yes, it is okay for you to kill a character in this movie. It's fine. But I feel like with a couple exceptions here and there, they haven't really taken any chances with these emotional moments. So I really want to see a serious, emotional story as opposed to a funny one. And last but not least, my fifth worry, my biggest criticism of these Tom Holland movies: please, for the love of God, do not flood this movie with Tony Stark references. We get it. Tony was his mentor. He died. He carried the MCU. Everyone loves Iron Man. Yes, we get it. However, we do not need to be reminded every 5 seconds that Tony Stark mentored Spider-Man. We don't have to hear about him all the time. Everything doesn't have to connect back to Tony Stark. And one of my biggest criticisms, if not my biggest criticism of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, is the fact that he can't stand on his own 2 feet. Everything, he's running to Tony for help. In this movie, it looks like he's running to Doctor Strange for help. I really hate that about him. He's a kid, he's imperfect, I understand that. However, he shouldn't have to run to his mentor for help all the time. So I really want this to be a movie where Spider-Man can stand on his own 2 feet, but I don't want this thing to be full of Tony Stark nostalgia. That's my fifth worry, too much Tony. All right, and now it is time for the prediction. Hot takes again, here come the oven mitts. Number 1 prediction in this movie: MJ, you're dead. I think MJ's dying in this movie. I don't think she's necessarily dying at that scene where she's falling off the bridge and Spider-Man jumps to save her. I don't think she's necessarily dying there. I think that's a red herring, but I do think that she's gonna die in this movie. There are other characters that could die. Happy could die. Ned could die, Aunt May could die, but I think the most impactful death in this movie would be MJ. I think it is the person that we really see that he cares about the most, and I think that that would leave the longest lasting effect. Earlier I talked about Peter needing consequences. This would be the ultimate consequence. And would it be sad? Yeah, it absolutely would be sad, but that's the point. We hear so much in this trailer that Peter can't save everybody. And what lesson would be learned if he saves everybody at the end? I think that yes, he's gonna save the world. Yes, he will restore the multiverse until Wanda breaks it again and Doctor Strange has to go put his movie in theaters too. But ultimately, Peter needs to have consequences, and this would be the ultimate consequence, and a long-lasting one that would help him develop. And maybe this is the thing that helps him to stand on his own 2 feet. Maybe this is the thing that helps him learn. Second prediction: if she doesn't die, she's gonna forget that he's Spider-Man. Again, it looks like this whole movie is gonna be instigated by the fact that he doesn't want MJ and Ned to forget that he's Spider-Man. While MJ dying will be a more serious consequence and a more ambitious choice for the filmmakers, I do think that if they want to play it safe and still give him consequences, they could do something where Doctor Strange has to do the spell the right way at the end, and MJ's got to forget that he's Spider-Man. MJ and Peter can't be together. He's upset by it. He's sad by it. Maybe that's where the with great power comes great responsibility line comes in. I don't know, but if she's not dying, I think that she's forgetting that he's Spider-Man. All right, my third prediction. This isn't really a earth-shattering, multiverse-splitting prediction or anything like that, but I think Doc Ock is going to end up being an ally in this movie.
Hello, Peter.
But I think that Doc Ock at the end of the day in that final battle is going to become an ally, and it's going to be a 4 versus 4 battle as opposed to a 5 versus 3. I think Doc Ock is the one villain who has the foresight to see that all these characters need to go back to their original universes for their realities to become restored. And I think that even though he's not going to want to do it, ultimately he's going to join up with the good guys and it'll be 4 versus 4 and they'll go back. One of the best parts about Spider-Man 2, which is one of the best superhero movies of all time, and yes, I will eventually do a review of that movie on this channel, but I love the redemption at the end with him. I love how at the end of the day he tells those arms, "You're listening to me now," and he redeems himself. I love that redemption and that sacrifice at the end. I think Doc Ock gets a similar redemption arc in this movie. Doc Ock is going to be an ally in this movie. All right, my next prediction is for the post-credit scene. Again, I don't think this is an earth-shattering prediction, but I think we're getting a post-credit scene with Venom. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the new Venom movie yet, but it's been out for long enough and you've probably already heard about this. But anyways, if you haven't seen it, click off. But I know at the end of the last Venom movie, we see Tom Holland in his post-credit scene. I think this Spider-Man movie returns the favor. How it's going to set up the next Venom movie, if it does, I have no idea, but I do think that there's going to be a little reference to Venom, if not Eddie Brock, in that post-credit scene. I think we're seeing Venom after the movie. As for my last prediction for the movie, well, J. Jonah Jameson is still going to hate Spider-Man. He can't help himself.
A thief! A criminal! He's a menace to the entire city! I want Spider-Man!
All right, y'all, that's what I think. I'm super pumped. I can't wait for next week. Go ahead, let me know in the comments, what are you looking forward to the most with this movie, or what do you want to see most in this movie? Let me know in the comments. Again, if at any point in this video you were entertained, I really would appreciate you hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. My goal for this channel, I want to start doing some movie reviews. So after Spider-Man's out, I want to review all the old Spider-Man movies. I want to start reviewing the Batman movies leading up to the Batman, which is coming out in March. And also, shameless plug for my stream. I stream every Tuesday and Wednesday night at twitch.tv/TheRealJTim. Come on over. We'd love to have you. But all right, I'm going to go watch some more Spider-Man YouTube videos, fall down the YouTube rabbit hole, come up with some more conspiracy theories, probably update my predictions in my head. All right, that's it. Talk to y'all later. Peace.